I never expected the last voicemail from my father to be the one I avoided. Saw his call. I ignored it without thinking. I told myself I would call him back later. I never did. When I finally listened to his voice that night, I realized too late that he had been trying to reach me one last time. His message was gentle, almost trembling, as if he knew something I did not. He said, "I just wanted to hear your voice today." My heart tightened the moment I heard those words. I pressed pause and sat in silence, terrified of what the rest of the message might reveal. Only then did I notice the string of missed calls I had brushed aside for weeks. They stared back at me like quiet reminders of the time I had thrown away. He had reached out earlier that evening too. The phone lit up with his name. I was busy. I thought he would call again tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. That night he left the final voicemail I would carry for the rest of my life. I sat down, finally ready to hear every word I had been running from. His breathing was unsteady. His voice was softer than I remembered. And as the message continued, I realized I was listening not just to his voice, but to the love of a father who had been waiting for me long before I ever understood what he needed. I remembered how he used to prepare breakfast before I woke up. He never asked for help. He simply made sure I had enough. When I was young, I followed him everywhere. His wide shoulders made me feel safe, as if nothing in the world could ever touch me. As I grew older, I started closing more doors than I opened. I did not realize how deeply every closed door echoed inside his quiet heart. Still he waited for me. Every evening he sat by the doorway, hoping he would hear my footsteps returning home. Time kept moving forward, but his love never changed. It stayed in the same place, steady and patient. Even on nights I did not come home, he saved the meal he cooked. He covered the plate carefully as if protecting something fragile. His hands were rough from years of work, yet he always placed things gently. He carried a quiet strength that I only understood much later. His missed calls were never complaints. They were reminders that someone still cared enough to reach out, even when I did not answer. He often ate alone, leaving my seat untouched. It was as if he was saving a place for a version of me who still remembered him. I kept telling myself that I would call him soon. I said I would make time later. Later kept slipping through my fingers until the day I realized there would be no more chances. His voicemail messages were always simple. He never asked for anything. He only wanted to hear my voice, even if it was for a single minute. The next day he cooked my favorite meal again. Hope was something he served quietly, as if it was part of the recipe he had carried all his life. While he waited, I scrolled through endless notifications that meant nothing. I ignored the one person whose silence would later break me. Every evening he looked down the hallway with a softness in his eyes, listening for my footsteps even when the house stayed quiet. Then came the voicemail that changed everything. At the time I did not know it would be the message I would replay for the rest of my life. When he recorded it, his breathing was unsteady. For the first time I could hear the weight he had been hiding in the pauses between his words. He said, "I made your favorite dish today. I miss hearing how your day is going." His voice carried a tenderness I had ignored for far too long. There was a small break in his voice. It was so soft that anyone else might have missed it, but I heard it clearly once it was too late. Covered my mouth with my hand as the truth settled in. He had been lonely for a long time, yet he never wanted me to feel guilty. He ended the message with, "Call me if you have a minute. If not, that is all right. Take care of yourself." He had no idea how those words would follow me for the rest of my life. The timestamp showed it was the final message he ever left me. I stared at it with disbelief, unable to accept the quiet truth behind it. I sat alone in the dark holding my phone tightly. Every moment I had traded for work and distractions suddenly felt painfully empty. His empty chair in the kitchen held more emotion than any long conversation could. It whispered stories of the nights he waited without complaint. My chest tightened as I imagined him sitting there, hoping I might join him just once more. I would have given anything to hear him say my name again. Memories poured into my mind. I saw him fixing things around the house, teaching me how to tie a knot, patting my shoulder when I was upset. He expressed love through actions I never appreciated. I walked slowly through the quiet home. Each room still carried his warmth, even though he was no longer there to fill the silence. On the table, I found a small folded note he had written. I picked it up carefully, afraid it might disappear if I held it too tightly. The note said, "Proud of you." Just 2 simple words, yet they carried a lifetime of love I had never fully seen. I placed a flower beside the note as a way of honoring him. The room felt peaceful, filled with a kind of gentle warmth that belonged to him. I held the phone against my heart, letting his voice play softly in my memory. It wrapped around me like a quiet reminder of everything I had missed. The warm light of the sunset entered the quiet home with a gentle glow. For the first time, I understood what it meant to miss someone who had been waiting for me all their life. I imagined him reaching out one more time, lifting his hand slightly as if hoping our fingers might finally meet after all the moments we had lost. I could almost see him sitting on the sofa in his usual way, his hands resting on his knees, his eyes steady and calm as he listened for my voice. The day I walked through his doorway and realized he was no longer there, an indescribable weight settled in my chest. The room felt full of memories but painfully empty of him. A memory surfaced of him holding my small hand with such care. He guided me through every uncertain moment, always walking one step behind to make sure I did not stumble. I walked down the dim hallway holding my phone tightly, as if it was the last fragile connection between us. Each step echoed with everything I should have done differently. The kitchen light glowed softly, untouched since the last evening he had prepared a meal for 2. The faint scent of what he had cooked lingered in the air like a forgotten kindness. I pictured him setting the table slowly, straightening the utensils, making sure everything looked welcoming. He did it every night, even when he knew I would not come home. I stood alone in the kitchen, feeling the cold weight of regret settle into my bones. This was the same room he had filled with warmth for so many years. Another memory returned. He was smiling in the kitchen while cooking, humming quietly to himself. His joy filled the space so easily that it made the entire house feel alive. I sat down at the table and lowered my head into my hands. The reality of everything I had missed pressed deeply against my heart. I remembered seeing him write small notes now and then, leaving them near my plate just in case I came home earlier than usual. One note had said, "I saved this for you." Such simple words held more love than I had ever understood at the time. Holding that memory felt like holding his hand again. My fingers trembled as I let the moment rest gently inside my heart. I imagined him sitting by the window once more, letting the quiet breeze touch his hair while he waited with that gentle expression only fathers carry. I stepped into his room slowly, afraid to disturb the silence. The space felt like a preserved memory, still warm with traces of the life he lived. His shoes were placed neatly beside the bed, just the way he always kept them. They looked as if he might put them on at any moment. I touched the blanket he had folded so carefully. The softness beneath my hand reminded me of all the gentle things he had done without ever asking for anything in return. Another memory surfaced of him brushing dust off my shoulders, fixing my collar before school, and smoothing my hair with the same patience he carried through everything. I remembered the way he patted my head softly when I was scared. His voice was steady, warm, and strong enough to make the world feel safe. I closed my eyes and held the phone tightly against my chest. His voice echoed inside me like a quiet reminder of the love I had misunderstood for most of my life. The golden light of the evening entered the room slowly, filling the space with a calm warmth. It felt as if the house itself still remembered him. I sat down in his chair, the same chair he used every morning. The cushion still held a faint trace of his presence, and for a moment I felt like he was sitting beside me. My hands rested on the table where he had placed countless meals over the years. The smooth surface carried the memory of all the moments I had walked past without noticing. On the shelf was an old photograph of us. I was a child, smiling widely, and he was looking at me with a softness that made my heart ache. The worn family photo felt fragile in my hands. Even though the edges had faded, the warmth in his eyes remained steady and clear. More memories rose to the surface. He was cheering for me during a school event, clapping louder than anyone. I had been embarrassed then, but now I would give anything to see that moment again. I remembered him waiting at the door on days when I came home late. His shoulders drooped slightly, but he always greeted me with the same gentle smile. Tears filled my eyes, and I wiped them away with shaking hands. The silence around me felt full of every word I had not said, every moment I had not shared with him. With trembling fingers, I dialed his number. I knew he would never answer, but I needed to hear the ring, needed to feel the connection even if it lasted only a second. His name appeared on the screen as the call rang. Seeing those letters made my heart tighten with a truth I had avoided for too long. I placed the phone against my ear and listened to the quiet ring. The silence that followed felt heavier than any words, echoing through the room like a lesson learned too late. The warm evening light deepened as it touched the room gently. It felt like the world was trying to comfort me, reminding me that love can linger long after a person is gone. With a voice that trembled, I whispered, "I am sorry. I should have called you back. I hope you knew how much you meant to me." Every word felt like a confession I should have made years ago. I imagined his hand reaching toward mine, not in regret but in quiet forgiveness. The soft golden light wrapped around his empty chair, and I realized something I had overlooked all my life. Love does not disappear. It waits for us to finally understand it. And even in his absence, he was still guiding me home.